So obviously everything, is different in every family, but because I've been working with families for so many years, there are three things that I really think are imperative, right? The first thing we have to do is own our part as the leaders of the family. God gives us that charge, that calling to be wise, godly leaders, and it's up to us to own our part. So what does that mean, own your part? I call it the ABCs, right? Watch your attitude, watch the way you behave as a parent, and your character is everything. And I think sometimes as business leaders, this is called born to lead, right? As business leaders, we know even if we take John Maxwell's definition of leadership, right? Leadership is about influence, nothing more, nothing less. So we as the parents are influencing the next generation of children to go out and serve the world, right? But if we don't own our part, if we don't know who we are, if we don't know that, this is a calling that is intentional and that every day, no matter what, we're not going to get it perfect. We're not even trying to be perfect. What we are trying to do is be purposeful. I always it reminds me of the Simba syndrome, that movie, The Lion King, right? Where Simba, he was the heir of a king. He was the son of a king. But because he thought he killed his father, in fear, he ran away and then hung out with a meerkat and a warhog, right? You hang in with the wrong people because you don't know who you are. I think that same analogy can be used for parents sometimes, that because we don't know who we are, because I go into conferences where there's thousands of women and I take the microphone and I say, tell me who you are. And they say, I'm the president of such and such, Microsoft. I'm the vice president of blah, blah, blah. I didn't ask you what you did. I asked you who you were. And because we don't sit enough in silence and really let God tell us who we are, oftentimes it's very, very difficult for us to carry out the duty of really being the parent that we are called and created to be. So owning our part is knowing who we are. Then the second thing I would say is really learn everybody's DNA. The DNA is the distinct natural abilities, DNA, distinct natural abilities of each child. And why do I say that? Because I'm in families, I go into homes where there's multiple children. And if you ask every child in private, oftentimes they'll say, so-and-so's the favorite. So-and-so's, I know she's the favorite. And I'm like, they should never even have that feeling in their spirit that they are not the favorite or the favorite, right? That we really need to get to know each child, each individual child, the gifts, talents, and abilities of each one of them. And it always plays out. Like, we can't compartmentalize ourselves. So when I go in homes and the parents say, for example, I'll give you an example. The parents will say, I gave so-and-so chores and she doesn't want to do it. And then I say, what kind of child do you have? Tell me a little bit about your child. And then she'll say, oh, she loves to read novels. And like in 5th grade, she loves to read novels and she loves series. And she will sit in a book for 2 hours. And then I'm saying, okay, so what's her chore? And then the parent will say, sweeping the floor or taking out the garbage. And I'm like, okay, listen, if you have a child that can sit through a book for 2 hours, then give her a chore that takes time. Have her wash the dishes, dry them, and put them away. Because that is a child that is wired. That is a child that has the bent of really, long suffering almost, having the patience to be able to actually read a book and not get up and not have ADD and ADHD and be all over the place. You can really give her a chore that has 3 steps or 4 steps. Whereas if you have another child that's quick, fast, in a hurry, just wants to get it done, that might be the child that you say, take out the garbage. Sweep the floor, get it done. So knowing that child's DNA is really important. And then the third thing I would say is really being the light. Patricia, we live in a dark world right now. And from the time that I grew up way back, there's so many things coming at children. And that's why you see the number 2 cause is teenage suicide of death is teenage suicide. It is horrific right now. But even though we know that there is darkness, there is light, and the light has to come from us, has to come from the people who are in Christ, has to come from the parents that know that they, are led by God and are the leaders in the home. And so how do you become the light? Well, you turn on the light in the darkness, right? So where there's hate, you put love in there, right? Where there's impatience, you put patience. Where there's people being unkind, you show kindness. So it's always the opposite of what the world is showing. So I love that. I think it's Romans 12:2 that talks about, do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it's not about throwing out scriptures to our children and showing them the way. It really is about just resembling what God looks like. And do we always get it right? Of course not. But we try our best every single day to be intentional about getting it done.
Yeah, being intentional, try our best every day. I like that so much. And then, I mean, these days, many kids are being labeled as ADHD. But I think, sometimes it's just a matter of personality, just not the way they are wired. But also, all the things that are coming at them don't help, like the screens, all the horrible things, the ungodly stuff. Exactly. And they're competing for their attention. So but then the doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists are so quick to put labels and give them medication.